Welcome to Abby's Den. I'm Abby. I am going to talk to you about thread today, actually. Now, I've had 3 sewing machines in, would you believe? Well, actually 1 embroidery and 2 sewing machines in this week. The users are good sewers. They create some wonderful things. They're very creative. They've been sewing for years and they know their machine, so they know how to take care of it. But the problem is, they've all had, this is so bizarre, it's so coincidental that the same issue has occurred on all 3 machines. All 3 machines are not picking up the bobbin thread. Okay, so why is that? Well, there's a timing issue. Sometimes when you fight with your machine, if you're inexperienced, you'll find most inexperienced people have this issue. Not most, sorry, a lot of inexperienced people will have this issue where the thread's not coming out, the machine's not releasing the fabric, and so you're tugging at it. So I've already hopefully helped a lot of people with that issue with basics of sewing machines video that I did a while ago. But people are still having that issue with the timing. Now, these 3 machines that have come in, the timing is perfect, and I'll show you that they are absolutely perfect. What I mean is the cog down here, this bobbin is meeting with the needle at the right time. So the timing isn't, when we talk about the timing on a machine, isn't an issue. Sometimes if the needle's not in correctly, that's an issue. But in these incidents, this hasn't been the problem. What the problem has been is thread. People think that thread, you can just buy any thread and the machine will be fine. Well, actually, I'm really sorry, but it's not. If you go for a cheap, not cheap, but poor quality thread, you are going to find that in the long run, that this cheap thread that was reasonably priced is going to cost you in service. Okay, so this is our thread take-up lever there. Okay, what the thread take-up lever does, its job is to yank the thread off the spool to feed it through the system. So it has a yanking mechanism to it. Yanks it. Can you see how it yanks it? All right, so that's what its job is. So if you've got a weak thread or a thread that shreds easily, what you'll find, and I don't know if you can see, there's a build-up of gunk already around this area. And occasionally shreds inside here, and see all these metal parts here, they will get caught in that section there. All right, so even though you think you've got a good quality thread, this machine will shred your thread. Okay, once it's done that, let me see if I can get it in. And once it's doing that, what happens is, can you see the slope? It slides into your machine and threads that snap. So when you're using the machine too fast for the quality of thread, what happens is it will snap. And then you might pull it this way, you might pull it that way at the top, you might pull it down. And what will happen is you'll lose a piece of thread in here that slides in and just sort of lives inside your machine. And when it lives inside your machine, what will happen is this elbow here, so what happens is this elbow here, let me see if we can move it up and down so you can see. So see that elbow there? So what's happening is these fibres are building up, the machine's not performing correctly, and the user is just adding more oil. The oil is just compacting this thread and making like a felt blanket inside there, which is no good to you, is it? Because this is precision engineering. What I mean by precision engineering is everything is measured accurately. That little nook there is measured exactly. That spring there is measured exactly. All of this is precision engineering. So if you start building up fluff and fibre and beds of felt inside there, what's going to happen? Your machine's not going to perform the way it should. So that's why it's so important to buy a good quality thread. Now for me, this machine isn't difficult to fix and clean, it's just time consuming. There isn't a lot to do in it, and I'll show you. But the issue is it all needs to be taken apart, given a good clean. All of the threads and the build-up need to be taken out, and it needs to be put back together again. So unfortunately, it means that the users, especially towards Christmas, it becomes an issue. The user has to come away from the machine for a couple of days, maybe lose some orders, lose time on gifts that they've hoping to make in time for Christmas, and they've got to give it to me and give me the time to repair it or sort it out, and then they've got to pay me. So in the long run, they could have saved themselves a lot of hassle for this particular problem by just spending a little bit more on a good quality thread. We just explained to you about thread. Now, I live in Manchester, so Manchester is a very wet place, and it's very well known for its cotton production. We have Quarry Bank, or Style Mill, as people call it. We have Quarry Bank Mill, and that's where a couple of centuries ago they made cotton, and there was a huge industry in Manchester for making cotton. Now this is what cotton looks like. So this has got seeds in it, and it's collected from cotton plants. And if you walk around Manchester, you'll see a lot of cotton plants in the fields. So it's really one of those things you see growing wild now in countrysides. And it's usually South America because it's warm there and quite humid. So it's a great place for it to grow, and it's a great place to produce it into thread. Now, when you buy thread, you need to buy a good quality thread. What happens is a good quality thread, like rope, is made from long strands. So if you're making a rope, you want long strands that you wind together, and you have to think that's what thread needs to be. So if you're using short fibres and twining them together, they will break and snap easily, or they will shred easily. And it's easier to make those kind of threads because those are like the offcuts from a good quality thread manufacturer. It's like buying the scraps from a good quality thread maker, and a cheap thread quality maker will use those leftover bits to make their own thread. So they're using small bits of thread to make of fibres to make your thread. So what actually you need to do is have long strands that are twisted together, and that's what they are. They're twisted together, and the best way to twist them together is in a humid environment. So if the environment's too dry, what happens is they untwist and those fibres come loose. So if they're short fibres, they come loose. So you need a humid environment, and you need long strands to produce what we have is a very strong thread. So this is me using rope to show as an example. If I try to twine this as short pieces, it will break easily in my hand. But if I spin it and form it into long strands on a spinning wheel and comb it all into the right direction, into the same direction, I'm going to produce a really good quality thread. And actually, I do have embroidery machines come back to me where the user cannot understand why her machine's broken or his machine's failing to continue in embroidery, and why does it thread keep snapping. You tell them it snaps because they're not using the best quality thread, and you don't want to upset them, but sometimes you've just got to be, you know what, stop cheaping out and just spend an extra tenner and get the thread you need, because it's going to make a better machine and save you a lot in the long run. I store my threads in a plastic box to stop them from getting dry, and in a cupboard so that the sunlight doesn't bleach the colours. And I do store some threads that I don't like and I won't ever use up on the shelves, just to make the room look decorative with the pretty colours. So let me show you a couple of examples of other reasons why your timing might be out, and hopefully my little rant about poor quality thread has filtered through, and you'll all be using good quality thread and spending a little bit extra. When you're putting your needle in your machine, make sure you actually touch that needle against the stopper at the top. That means that the needle is the right height to catch the bobbin thread. A good needle makes a difference too. If you're using stretch fabric, use a stretch needle and buy a good brand.